All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Michael Scanlon. I just first want to thank all of you for coming on this super cold Tuesday New England morning. So we're here representing Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center, and we're really all about moving young adults and families forward. And I'm really excited to have my colleagues, Ali, Emily, and Jake here to talk about really winter wellness and why we really believe there should be more conversations on, how do you stay well during, the dark and cold season, and what can you do to support yourself, and what can those in supportive roles really help to move you forward and help to really foster those healing relationships and really just better outcomes for everyone involved. So I am going to dive in. I know our time is tight. I'm going to go in order. So I'll go Emily, Ali, and Jake. I'll go with our questions. And Julia, I will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any things that come up for you throughout the session today, I'll be happy to, there will be time at the end for some questions maybe. So we're happy to make it a fun, intimate conversation today. So Emily, first question is to you. Does the winter and holiday season bring up any challenges for you? And are there maybe some things that no one ever talks about?
It definitely brings up a lot of challenges. One in particular for me is like whenever I have to go out somewhere, a lot of people really don't make it easy for me to, like a lot of businesses or whatever don't like shovel, so it's kind of hard to drive on the, those parking lots, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really had to be out in the winter in like 3 years, and also another challenge that I guess I have is like due to my particular disability. It just makes my bones and muscles like tighter because I'm colder, so that's not really that fun. But other than that, I don't really have any challenges aside from, my normal challenges just happening during the winter.
Emily, I really appreciate you bringing that up, though, because you're really bringing up accessibility, and that's obviously a really important topic. And that's like the basic foundation, right? And that's really what we're all about. So I think you highlighting the fact that even just basic transportation, getting out and about, has been really difficult for you. So I think those are really important future conversations. So I appreciate you saying that. Ali, over to you. What challenges does the winter and holiday season bring up for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. So during the winter and like holiday season, that's when I had gotten into addiction recovery. So it brings back a lot of like flashbacks of that, for sure. It also, in turn, with that brings a lot of survivor's guilt for the things that I've been able to overcome. But like my friends or people I work with or clients or what have you have not, especially with addiction and like suicide. So it's hard for me to talk to my loved ones about that survivor's guilt because they have a different perspective. Like they're just so grateful that I'm here and like that's valid and I understand that and stuff and like me too, but it stinks when there's not other people there too that I think should be there too, like what made me like the deserving one, and so I usually just share that with like other people in recovery because they usually get it, and I try to just like remind myself that my friends that have passed away would be happy to see me where I am now and what I do now, and they would want me to be happy. So like I try to keep that in mind, but it's still like, yeah, but their family's still sad and their family's sad and my family gets to sit around and be happy with me there, but they have an empty chair. So that's always like kind of a hard part. And like I hate the cold, hate it. Even though I'm always hot. So there's like a part of me that likes the cold because I'm always hot, but like for the most part, I hate it because it's just not my thing. And I try to get into skiing, but like skiing wasn't really the best for me growing up because I always had like my instructor person that I always went with was horrible and like really mean. So like every time I go skiing, that's all I think about is like family members that I went with that were mean or like friends that I went with that were mean. So I'm like, I don't really like skiing anymore. But other than that, that's about it. And I'm not I'm a new homeowner, so I guess like shoveling and all that kind of stuff is new for me now. But I make my boyfriend do the shoveling.
I really appreciate you bringing up, really how this season brings up that you mentioned feelings of guilt, and really, we're huge mental health advocates here at CPAC, and that's something that's really not often talked about. And so I really appreciate you, sharing that part of your story and what you go through, because I think that's the whole reason why we're here today is, on the surface, it seems pretty easy. Oh, winter comes every year, holidays can be fun, but there's this underside I think many young adults face. So I really appreciate you sharing that. So Jake, over to you. Does the winter and holiday season bring anything up for you? And are there any things no one really talks about?
This time of year is a little tricky for me. First, it is a wonderful time of year because of the celebrations and time spent with family and friends, and of course, lots of delicious foods. But it is also a reminder of the accident I sustained, a traumatic brain injury just after Christmas. And so I find peace in enjoying family time and celebrating the holiday and focusing on the positive things in my life.
Jake, and I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you in the second half, but I really appreciate you talking about how, you're grateful for the positive parts of the holiday season. But again, you're always a great advocate for keeping it real and really always saying what you need. And I think that's a great self-advocacy skill to have. And so we'll talk more about that. How do we stay well? How do you move forward? So thank you for sharing, Jake. Emily, back to you. How do you stay well during the winter and holiday season? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I stay well just by practicing self-care and also like the typical hygiene things that you do to avoid getting sick and all of that. And also like I just what I also like just try to like not focus on the fact that it gets dark at 4 o'clock and like in the afternoon it's like I'll be in my room and I'll be doing stuff and then I look out the window because I have like these ginormous windows in my bedroom, which I forget that you can probably see. And it'll be dark, and that's weird because I guess it's because like when I before we moved into this house, I had like very small windows, so I couldn't really see. But like now that I can see, it's like scary that it gets dark. So like I try not to think about the fact that it gets dark so early and stuff like that.
Emily, I really appreciate that. And I'm curious, do you have any top self-care tips that you really really practice?
I really practice. I get a good, you know, I have a good sleep schedule.
That's super important. I need to get better about that lately after the holidays. So I feel you on that. And I know you are you love lots of TV and movies, and that's great self-care too. Do you have any shows you're watching right now?
What I'm watching right now, let's see, what am I watching right now? I'm not really watching that much right now.
Oh, I'm wrong. Okay, so I know we've
Well,
had many
hold on, because her and I are always watching Schitt's Creek. So
which
to
I
be fair.
approve of. But I think, Emily, you brought up what we all practice need to get better at too, at least for myself, is there's sometimes we can overcomplicate things. And I think
Also,
that we're talking about the need to get back to basics. And so really improving sleep is huge.
although what I do need to catch up on, definitely need to catch up on like the latest season of Riverdale and stuff like that.
Nice. I'm
I
gonna
like a lot of
that
shows
for
like that.
later. Allie, so over to you. I love to hear, really what do you do to stay well during the winter and holiday season?
So ooh, I kind of like, one thing I'm doing is just allowing myself to do what I need to do to take care of myself. Like I saw in the chat, someone had asked about like how you manage your holiday related anxiety and anxiety in general. I mean, they come two and two, they come together. Of course, with the holidays, I tweak it a little bit. Like, one thing I do is say I have to go to like family parties or big crowds events. I can handle that. I mean, I'm a social person, but I'm also an introvert really at heart. So a social introvert, I don't know what it's called, but whatever. Anyway, so a lot of times like I take that time to be like, okay, we're going to commit to spending this much time, but during that time with these people, I'm going to at the 20-minute break, like every 20 minutes or something, I'm going to go to the bathroom outside somewhere like kind of isolated in that area to just breathe, take a deep breath. Like I underestimated the power of breathing techniques until I started practicing it during really stressful moments. And it actually worked. Like there's this YouTube breathing triangle that I follow, and it's just like this triangle that goes bigger and smaller. Because some of the breathing guides, I'm like, I don't have the lung capacity for all that. But this one, it's easy. And I followed it as a skeptic, and it ended up working. Like I calmed myself down so much. I took medications I needed for that moment, made sure I was medicated before the events. And like sometimes after, if make sure I have medication for after in case like my anxiety is really overwhelming for after, because sometimes that can lead into like digestive problems and all that. So I try to just make sure I have like my little self-care travel kit. And I allow myself to have those days of sitting down and binge watching stuff and not feeling guilty for it. To be like, no, this is my time off. This is what I want to do. I want to take a break. So I'm going to do it and not feel guilty for it. Which is obviously easier said than done. I have like spiritual rituals that I do that are really helpful. Meditation I've been trying to practice more because I'm really bad at it. So trying to practice it more. I'm always distracted, always filled with like, for me to be like, be in the now and like don't think about anything. Someone with anxiety, like that's really hard for me. So learning how to meditate when you still have racing thoughts. Yeah, and I mean, I see my therapist, I talk to my loved ones. I just got a puppy. Shout out to Lola. So she's also a way that I help take care of myself now because I use her as an excuse for everything. I swear I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I need to go home now. She is in the crate, or she's hungry, or she hasn't eaten. Meanwhile, that's a lie. Like, I'm just using her as an excuse sometimes because sometimes it's just easier to be like, hey, gotta go, But other than that, that's kind of what I do. I'm trying to spend time outside, even though I don't like the outside much, especially during the winter. I just try to say, okay, well, taking like Lola for a walk. So that's going to be your 10-15 minute like outside time. And it still counts, even though it's Lola time, it still counts. Yeah. So those are kind of things I do. And I'm into like crystal healing therapy. So I make sure I have like certain crystals for like certain moods. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Well, Allie, thanks for sharing all that. And I want to really touch on a few things before I go over to you, Jake. I think that what stuck out to me is a couple of things here. I think that you really talked about the importance of thinking of wellness and self-care in a holistic way. I think this is not a bad thing, but I think we can often think of self-care wellness as like, intellectual, emotional only, but we're talking about physical, spiritual. And I want to actually, for our guest today, there's a really cool framework called the 8 Dimensions of Wellness by SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. Let me try to get that out there on a Tuesday morning. It's a long name, but what's really neat about that is it's really a nice graphic that really breaks down 8 core areas of your life. Now, forget all 8, but really it is like physical, intellectual, occupational, financial, and all of those really built into the puzzle pieces of self-care. And so I think, I just really appreciate you mentioning that, Allie, that you are a great advocate for thinking outside the box on what young adults really need. And I think another thing is you have that, really a toolkit, and you really are not you were, I think what I appreciate too is you weren't afraid to try different things. I think sometimes there can be a hesitancy to if something's maybe not working as well, or you need to find another creative solution. I really appreciate you putting yourself out there and sharing that, hey, maybe you've tried some things and they really didn't work all that great, so you kept it moving and found things that really helped you. So I appreciate you, Allie. And Jake, over to you. I'd love to find out, how do you stay well during the winter and holiday season?
Well, every day I get up and exercise on the mat and doing some stretching to get my body up and running is always great. The cover weather really stiffens up my muscles and joints, so I need to keep them moving. As they say, a body in motion stays in motion. A balanced diet is also a great way to promote your well-being. Both of these things will make you feel better and your body will function more efficiently, especially with all those extra treats that we are eating this time of year.
Jake, I love that you're following up on the physical health, because I think for me, if I can share a little bit about what keeps me well too, it is moving around. And I joke, people who know me, I joke I'm an indoor person. I'm like not great at sports. I just like to, the bare minimum is like I'm lucky to achieve that of like exercise in a day. But I do really feel my best when I'm out doing something. And so I actually made it a habit to, on my lunch break, most days of my work week, I will instead of like sitting and eating lunch, I'll go for a walk and kind of have lunch later. And I'm lucky to have a job where I can kind of eat while I'm working. I know not everyone has that, but I think finding a system that and my body really expects it now. I know around like 12:30 or 1 every day, I get my 20-minute, 25-minute walk in, and it's now become something I look forward to. So I really appreciate you, Jake, for saying it's something you look forward to and you really can feel a difference. And I think, yeah, it's just really awesome for you to share that. Thanks so much. And I do want to mention, because Allie, you had sent me a chat. I have this, I do suffer with seasonal depression. So I know like I have that dreaded feeling where it's like late fall, all the leaves are gone, it's dark. And I just really notice I'm not always feeling my best. And this is not medical advice, not legal advice, but this is just something for me. It's called the sun lamp or a light lamp. And it's really neat that it really does help to sometimes mimic the sun. So if you're someone who, you know, also might not feel their best during the darker seasons, it's worth checking out. There's many different stores have them, and that's something that in the morning, part of my self-care is I'll sit, have my morning coffee, I'll read, and just having that sun lamp there really does help me. So thanks, Allie, for reminding me on that. So Emily, I'd love to hear from you on how do you advocate for yourself during this season? And I think this is a really important to talk about because in addition to talking about our self-care and wellness, I think what's really important too to mention is, let's be honest, we're all back to work, to school from holidays, however you celebrate, right? And I think, as we've mentioned, this time can bring up a lot of challenges. So I'd love to hear whether it's with advocating for yourself in school or on the job. I'd love to hear about your experiences with self-advocacy. Oh, and you're muted, Emily.
In terms of advocating for myself, during the season, I wouldn't really think that self-advocating is a seasonal process. I think I do it whether it's currently in the winter or whether we're in fall, summer, spring, because I feel like no matter what area of my life, I still have to advocate, even when it's not like in the parameters of actual advocating, like in a structured way. I feel like I still have to advocate for myself to I don't know, like if a store is not accessible or something, like I have to tell them that it's not right, that it's not accessible or something. Like advocacy doesn't have a specific seasonal advocacy is not really a seasonal thing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, you're so right, Emily. And I think, I'd love to hear, do you have any, maybe like a top tip for someone who wants to get even better with self-advocacy from your experiences? I'd love to hear what you think about that. Oh, Emily, I think we lost you. I will definitely wait for I'd love to hear your answer when you're back online. Allie, do you want to, while we're waiting for Emily again, would you mind sharing about self-advocacy and how you support yourself during the winter season?
Sure, Michael. So I definitely understand what Emily means as far as like, when you're advocating for yourself, it's all the time. You don't realize that you're advocating for yourself in some of the most simple ways, even when you're just saying yes or no to something that's a daily question. So I definitely get what I'm picking up that vibe of understanding that daily advocacy. But as far as like if I have to up it for the winter and the seasonal, it would be when I need to take a break. So during the holidays, if the environment is becoming too overstimulating or anything like that, and I need to take that break, that's when I really advocate for myself in a new way, because I try to take a deep breath and use my words with my loved ones and be able to firmly say no or yes, this is what I need, this is what I don't need, and like follow through with it. Because sometimes even if it's a need that's completely understandable and like no one's going to give me a hard time about it, I still feel a little bit of guilt, because that might mean that I'm missing out on some of the family activities or something that might be going on that's important. So definitely during the holidays, I have to up it a notch of like putting my foot down, for sure. And sometimes during the holidays, people ask a lot of me. It's, hey, can you volunteer for this? Can you do that? And a lot of times during the holidays, it's a time of service. And like my entire career is service. So it's like a lot. And I have my own kind of volunteer services that I do outside on a regular basis. So it's like sometimes I can't really jump on that like service, parade because I'm already overwhelmed. I'm already pouring from an empty cup, So sometimes I have to really advocate for myself in that sense, or kind of tell families and friends, yes, I can make it to this holiday event, but I can't make it to that one. And just kind of be okay with that in a sense. And also one thing I want to add is I also have to be cautious about advocating for myself when it comes to maintaining my sobriety. There's times where I have to tell people like, no, not drinking that. Like, no, we're not taking New Year's Eve shots. I mean, you can, but I'm going to take a different kind, or, something like that. I have to just be mindful of my environment during the holidays, especially around recovery and sobriety.
No, thank you for sharing that, Allie. And I'll get back to you on a follow-up with that. And Emily, I'm really glad you're back. So I'm sorry you had a technical glitch. As it all happens, we had our glitches this morning. So I'd love to hear from you again on, a tip you have on self-advocacy.
I really think that like something that, people can learn is to not overextend yourself. Like, I know that I have this problem where I'm the person that will always say yes to things, even though like I shouldn't all the time. And like you have to like basically learn your boundaries pretty much, and like let yourself have boundaries, and like that's a way of advocating for yourself basically, which I didn't really realize until just now. But like basically just like know yourself enough to know when you need to advocate for yourself and say no to the extra or you have to do, or no to like going wherever with your friends. Not that people are doing that much during the pandemic, but just like place boundaries on yourself.
So Emily, I'm actually, that's what I wrote down. I was picking up from Allie too. So it's just, we're having a psychic moment here. So I really appreciate you really echoing what Allie was saying, that saying no can be self-care. And and that really, and no is a complete sentence. That's what my brother says it all the time. So, and it's so true. So I really appreciate you giving us some nuts and bolts on for one of your top tips. And Jake, I'd love to hear from you now on how do you self-advocate for yourself, and whether it's during this season or really any time of the year, if you'd love to share a top tip or two with the audience.
I would say for me, self-advocating during this season is the same as any. I try to be clear on what I may need or what I want, and what I want to complete. It is a busy time of year with the holidays and finishing up the fall semester for college, so it is very important to stay organized and to help reduce the stress of it all.
I love that, Jake. And I think you're all saying, the common theme I'm hearing from all of you is, again, self-care can say no, means saying no sometimes, but just really that, again, there's only so much time we all have, and that goes for everyone. But I think Some people don't realize how much young adults have on their plate, whether, whether it's school or, working or doing both. I think that the holidays and winter, people can be stretched thin. And I'll be honest, there's some vacations, holiday time, it doesn't even feel relaxing, because when you get through seeing everyone, and I don't want to say obligations, but there certainly are times where you need a vacation from a vacation, and we've all probably been there. So I think I really appreciate you, Jake, giving us the real deal on that. So for our last question, then we'll open it up to the audience. Emily, I'd love to hear from you how professionals and parents and really anyone, how they can support young adults.
I feel like professionals and parents can support youth and young adults by like just basically letting them just do school by them, not do school by themselves, but do school by themselves to the best of their ability, or complete their professional tasks to the best of their ability, but also like being there to like really like realize that because a lot of them, if you're around like a person long enough, you can tell like when they're getting stressed and stuff like that, like just have them be there to remind them that they're like biting off more than they can chew. Because
Emily, I really appreciate you, and I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry, but I really heard the theme of relationships, really healthy relationships, when professionals really care about young adults. And unfortunately, a lot of young adults are, in systems where they may not have caring
Right.
adults who are there for them. So that's a really great point, Emily.
Yeah.
Allie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, how can professionals and parents really support young adults?
I would kind of piggyback off of Emily in a sense for the professionals part of it, with the like knowing the students' limits. And also, like, I understand over breaks, like if you're a professor or you're a high school teacher, like I get that there may need to be some homework or work to do over the break. However, I try to tell professionals to not do that as much as you can, because by not doing that, you're providing an opportunity for that young adult or teen to spend time with their family, take the self-care that they need, travel, like do the things that they may not normally get to do, and without having that like dooming anxiety over their head, like, well, I have to get this work done or I have to do that. Like, I feel like it really takes away that whole message of a break. When you take paid time off and you go on vacation, the hope is that the whole point of that is so that you put your away message on your email, you don't talk to anyone, maybe you make some exceptions, but for the most part, you are pretty much required to not respond and not do anything to do with work, not be on your email, So why would we send the message for students that they still need to work on their time off? I feel like that's kind of contradicting to what they're going to experience as an adult. And whereas when you're an adult and you're taking paid time off and things like that, it's your choice to respond, because chances are you're in a position that may need response or whatever. So that's one thing, is like just try to lighten the work of the load work, for sure. And I also would say that allowing for like parents, just allow your teen or young adult to have their space, if they want to spend a lot of their vacation with their friends, or or just not with you, understand that that's age appropriate behavior. It's not about their character not wanting to hang out. It's not that you didn't raise them right to want to spend time with the family and not their friends. It's that you raised them, if anything, you did raise them right and with nurture and love, because they are seeking their independence. They're trying to, they're hanging out with their friends. If you have a teen at home and during their winter break, they want to go over their friend's house instead of aunt so-and-so's, that's age appropriate behavior. It's not, that's normal. So of course, like you want to teach balance and show like, oh, well, we're going to spend some time with aunt so and so and then some with your friends, but like give them the opportunity to go hang out with their friends. And like allow, a lot of times people are always so frustrated that their teen or young adult is like on their phone a lot or on a device. And I understand like having a break from screen time. However, also know that just because they may be sitting there and kind of like scrolling through their social media while sitting around the coffee table, it doesn't mean that they're not present necessarily. A lot of times that's a mixed message of not being present. Sometimes it's actually something that's like a stimulation that can help the person pay attention. I have a friend that when she's scrolling through social media, she's paying attention to every single word that you're saying. And in fact, when she doesn't have a fidget, she's not able to respond to you and fully listen. So that's definitely something that I would kind of just recommend, is just know that, being absorbed in a fidget doesn't necessarily mean that they're not present, and just like allow them to just be a kid. I understand it's chore time or whatever, but have a good balance between those for sure.
I love that, Allie. And before I get to you, Jake, I want to say a few points to what you said, Allie. I think what you just said, bring joy in your life. I'm all about that, especially the last few years we've all had. I think that what I picked up on, Allie, was again the boundaries piece. We talked about personal boundaries, but I think what I really caught and was thinking about for a second was boundaries with workplace. And I think what's really interesting is how to walk the walk to support young adults, modeling that behavior. So like you said, in the working world, when you're on vacation, you're off, away message, but sometimes with school, there can be that pressure to still be on. And I've certainly been there myself where I'm checking things and I should be off, or, having that restful period, but I was just so consumed with feeling like I had to be on, get things done. And just this anxiety around not being able to relax and fully recharge. And I think that you made a great point in that learning, how to relax, how to step away from something, and really advocate for yourself if you are in a school that might be putting pressure on students when they should be on a break or vacation. And then I think the final piece that I really pulled from you, Allie, was assumptions. And I think we've talked about that a lot, right? But I think having those honest, curious conversations where, if like with the phone thing, if you are a professional and had maybe a concern about technology use, instead of judging a young adult and saying, well, put the phone away, could you have it say, hey, I noticed, you're scrolling, is that really helpful for you? Like, and just having like a really curious conversation that can later lead to places. And I think, Emily, you talked about that with having those healthy relationships. So just wanted to, these are all amazing tidbits of information. And Jake, last but not least, final question, right? How can professionals and parents support young adults? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I agree with both Emily and Emily, making sure that your student or child is being heard is one of the biggest ways to support them. It is a festive time of year, but as you know, it can get very busy and stressful, and maybe just try to engage how they are handling everything, and just
Jake, I love that. And I think you always wrap things up so well. And you're right. I think, winter holidays, it's really busy. But I think, like you said, it's really being aware of what's important, what do you need, owning that, telling people that, and really being kind to yourself. I think you're always a champion for that. We talked about guilt earlier. We talked about ways to say no. And so I think you made a great point in that the way you see yourself and being kind to yourself first, giving you that self-love is so important, especially during this time of year. So I really appreciate that. And so really with that, we've run through all our questions for today. So Julia, Colleen, and Julia, I know you're with Shay, Paul, and Chris. If you all have any questions, you can type them in the chat. You can unmute, go on video. We have about 10 minutes or so. So if you want to ask Jake, Allie, Emily, or myself anything on wellness or anything on your mind, we'd love to hear your thoughts and have a conversation. And there's no pressure. If you have no questions, I'm totally fine with that too. And Allie, could you actually pop our social media channels I know you did Instagram, but just to get that. I'm sorry if you already did that. And while you're doing that, Allie, I just want to thank everyone for attending today. It's always super fun for us to do these sessions. We're really passionate about creating positive change, using our expertise and our experiences to really move young adults forward, helping professionals, helping the state. So it's been a pleasure to have you all. And our website is cpacinc.org. And I'm going to type my email in the chat. If you want to be notified of more events like this today and ways to get involved, please reach out. And I'm going to pop my email momentarily. It's mscanlan@cpacinc.org. So I'd love to, we're always looking for ways to collaborate. So if you'd like a session like this virtually at some point, we'd be happy to customize something for you. We're always looking for ways to really be innovative and fun. I think that's really what we're all about. It's the moving forward, but with fun. So, thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. Colleen, thanks so much. All right, so I think with that, since no one else has questions, again, just thank you so much. I know it's a Tuesday late morning, and I appreciate you also on behalf of CPAC and the Advisory Board. I'm going to be signing off now. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you all.